That evening, I was sitting in my room thinking about the next day. I was filled with anticipation because tomorrow I planned to sneak into the abandoned house across from ours all by myself to explore it. I had wanted to do this for a long time, but could never muster the courage, as none of my friends supported my idea. It was all because of the house's bad reputation. People say that in the past, people who rented rooms there disappeared, and a year ago, the owner of the house herself, Emily, went missing. Perhaps that's for the best, as she always scared me with her angry face and never greeted anyone. I instinctively kept my distance from her. The house became empty, and no one saw either the owner, Emily, or the tenants anymore. The lights in the house no longer turned on. Neighbors called the police, thinking that the owner might have died, but after inspecting the house, they found nothing. I felt relieved then because rumors of her death scared me, and it was creepy to sleep imagining her ghost watching our house. Such eerie thoughts crept into my head, and I couldn't get rid of them. But with the arrival of morning, all fears vanished, and I decided to explore that house to satisfy my curiosity. Earlier, I had already walked around the house and peeked through the windows. It was gloomy inside, and one window didn't close, so I decided to sneak in through it. After breakfast, I immediately headed to the abandoned house. Opening the window, I looked around. That day, the sun was shining brightly outside, so inside the house didn't seem as creepy. As I climbed through the window, my heart was pounding hard. It's no wonder they say the first step is always the hardest to take. I began to walk around the rooms and realized that there was nothing scary here. Wandering through this house was incredibly interesting. I even thought that I should persuade my friends to come here together. After inspecting the first floor, I came across a staircase leading to the second floor, and beneath it, I noticed another room. I opened the door and was surprised it wasn't a closet or a utility area, as is usually the case, but a spiral descent into a basement. I decided that I wasn't ready to go down there yet, closed the door, and headed to the second floor. On the second floor, there were many different rooms, furniture, and interior items. Damn, I definitely need to convince my friends to come here together, I thought. We could hang out and play hide and seek at night. It would be really creepy. I decided to hide under a huge bed, but when I looked underneath, I saw something that puzzled me. A large book was lying there. I felt around and pulled it out. The cover was unusual soft, resembling animal skin. Opening the book, I saw handwritten notes. Deciding that this trophy was worth studying in more detail, I took it with me to read in the evening. When I returned home that evening, I climbed into bed and took out the strange book to study it. Here's what was written inside. Dear reader, this book is dedicated to an extraordinary woman. Our acquaintance began in a rather ordinary way. I saw an advertisement in the newspaper for a room for rent in a summer village. The room was being offered by a beautiful woman with the unusual name of Emily. At that moment, I thought, what an easy victim. Almost boring, but I quickly reminded myself that even in something dull, one can sometimes find beauty. I immediately dialed Emily's number and arranged a meeting. On my way to her place, I pondered how to elegantly give her eternal peace. I imagined a beautiful woman awaiting me, a woman of dreams. Such a one deserved only the finest death. When I rang the doorbell, a woman around 40 answered. Her appearance was unkempt, her hair was tangled, and there were grease stains on her sweater. My first thought was, how can someone let themselves go like this? No elegance, no taste. I even felt the urge to leave. This woman wasn't worthy of being part of the peaceful end I envisioned. All my illusions about her were shattered, but it was too late to turn back. So I had no choice but to enter the house. Hello, I'm Emily, she said. Hello, James. Come in, you must be tired from the journey, she added. A bit weary, yes. Thank you for your concern, I replied, though her rotting teeth horrified me. James, go to your room and make yourself comfortable. Then come to the kitchen, I've prepared dinner for you, she said. I thanked her and went to the room. The thought of what kind of food this woman could have prepared made me nauseous. I was sure everything around was completely unsanitary. It's a shame I'm a gentleman and couldn't refuse a lady's invitation to dinner. I opened my bag and looked at the garrote I'd brought with me. No way. I'm definitely not going to bother with this woman, I thought. I set the garrote aside for later. When I entered the kitchen, the table pleasantly surprised me. There were many hot pies and a huge samovar sat on the table. Perhaps I would decide to eat a little, but only because of the aroma. I even began to feel a little guilty for begrudging Emily the garrot. But you can understand me, she was so untidy. Please, take a seat, Emily said. I sat down, and she offered me her special tea. She poured it for me, and the aroma was truly delightful. I couldn't resist and took a sip. There couldn't be any bacteria in tea, it's boiling water. How do you like it? Emily asked with a smile. My head began to relax slightly, but suddenly I woke up in a cold, icy basement. My hands were shackled, chains embedded in the walls. The visibility was poor. This woman turned out to be far from simple. There was a spark in her, and I thought you could fall in love with her, such resourcefulness and bravery in such an unkempt body. My thoughts were interrupted by a strong chill. I realized I needed to warm up immediately. Maybe I should call for the hostess, I thought. But I quickly dismissed the idea. A true gentleman must solve his own problems. As I looked around carefully, I noticed a man lying by the wall next to me. I approached and started feeling around him. Upon closer inspection, I realized that he had been mutilated. Was he just an ordinary person? No, I saw not deformity but a work of art. With nothing else to do, I had to act like a bit of a barbarian and borrow this exhibit's clothes. Luckily, there were no shackles on him. I put on his pants and threw his jacket over myself. Now that I was warmer, I couldn't wait to see Emily again. What had she prepared for me? Perhaps she would turn me into a masterpiece as well. Suddenly, a light bulb flickered on. The door opened, and I heard footsteps descending the stairs. A smile spread across my face from the excitement. Finally, Emily appeared, holding my prized knife in her hands. Wow, this woman even has impeccable taste, I thought. You scum, you wanted to kill me, she said. Her face was red with anger, but I found it charming. The word kill sounds a bit too harsh, I replied calmly. I simply wanted to gift you with priceless eternal peace. Do you know what awaits you? Emily asked. My curiosity only grew. Who would have thought this woman could intrigue me so much? If you wouldn't mind, please enlighten me, I said. Take a look at your neighbor, you'll end up lying there, just like him. She gestured toward the man lying on the ground. I immediately smiled and began to explain what I admired about her artwork. You're sick. Do you think you can joke with me? Emily fumed. I didn't have time to respond before Emily furiously lunged at me with the knife. She grabbed my hand, and I felt a sharp, searing pain. I didn't want to resist such an amazing artist, and soon enough, I passed out. I regained consciousness, barely able to think from the intense pain. The temperature around me was clearly below freezing. It was insanely cold. Looking at my hand, I realized that I no longer had fingers on my right hand. Blood was gushing out like a stream. I pressed the wound with my other hand, but the blood wouldn't stop. What a temper, I thought. I think I'm in love subconsciously. I didn't even want to stop the bleeding. I didn't want to ruin the efforts of my magnificent Emily. But I couldn't leave this world just yet. I had to see her at least once more. I pressed my hand against the icy wall, hoping the cold would freeze the wound and stop the bleeding. As soon as I did, the pain became unbearable, but the feeling of love drowned out everything else. How could I fall in love with such an unkempt woman? Life is surprising. The smile on my face grew wider, though the throbbing pain kept pulling me out of my fantasies. I realized that perhaps I had never truly loved before, but now everything had become clear. The pain intensified even more. I pulled my hand away from the icy wall. The bleeding had slowed but was still trickling. My hand had turned black from the cold, but I had to hold on just a little longer, or else I might fall asleep forever. At least one woman had managed to surprise me. I couldn't wait for her to come down. Once the bleeding stopped, I removed my hand from the wall. It looked terrible, darker than the walls themselves. I started thinking about what interesting substitute I could use for my hand. The only thing that came to mind was Captain Hook, who had taken down enough people with his hook to fill an entire cemetery. If only I could beat his record. But no, I couldn't rest yet. I couldn't accept such a gift from such a magnificent woman. What if someone treated my princess horribly? I once knew a psychotic girl who, along with her parents, took out people. I dealt with them, and because of her, I spent 5 years in prison. What if someone like her hurt my Emily? No, I couldn't allow that. It would be better if I personally sent her to eternal rest. That's it, I can't just keep relishing Emily's gift for too long. She's already done so much for me. This wouldn't be a one-sided game. I would give her my own gift, eternal peace. And then it hit me, I knew exactly how to present my beloved with her gift. With fierce determination, I bit into the dried scabs on my hand. My vision went black again, but I managed to hold on and not pass out. I poured blood over a small patch of the floor. When everything was ready, I pressed my hand against the cold wall once again, and my eyes closed. I woke up to a loud creak, followed by footsteps. There she was, my love, approaching. With great effort, I opened my eyes and lifted my head. She was holding an ordinary long kitchen knife. Ah, such a woman, but no taste. I looked at her face and broke into a wide smile. My heart raced with joy, like a dog seeing its owner. She glared at me angrily, and for some reason my smile irritated her. But I couldn't stop smiling. She walked toward me quickly, but as she approached, she slipped on the frozen pool of my blood. In that moment, I thought my love should only walk on red carpets. It looked so elegant, like a Hollywood star stepping out of a limousine and walking down a red carpet straight into my arms. The knife slipped from her hand, and she fell right into my embrace. I grabbed her neck with my hand and squeezed it with all the love I had. I sent her to eternal rest, into the endless sleep of love. The keys to the shackles were in her pocket. Forgive me, my love, but life has decided that I won't stay in eternal rest with you, but I will give you a magnificent gift, I said, stopping the infection in my hand and regaining a little strength. I recorded the names of everyone to whom I had given eternal peace. The first in the list, of course, was my Emily. She was the diamond of this book. After reading all of this, I sat there frozen with my mouth open. Who could come up with something like this? Was this some kind of joke? I kept reading through the list of names, and horror filled me. There were over 200. Then there were a few blank pages, but on the last page, there was more text: mandatory reading if you don't want to be added to this book. Reader, you have no idea what kind of story you've gotten yourself into. There are hidden cameras all over the house. I've seen you, and I know your face. Just try telling anyone about this. After reading that, I started shaking. I wanted to tell someone, anyone, but the book forbade it. The next day, I returned it to its place. I was so scared that I brought a knife with me just in case. Now I don't know what to do. I live in constant fear. If this is real, that person is clearly insane. What if he finds me? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss new episodes, which come out every Saturday. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's story in the comments.